Hi guys. Alright, most of you know I don't do these videos myself. I leave that up to the expert, my wonderful wife. But last night after watching the boot camp, I was so fired up. I got to thinking if there was anything that we had been doing recently, especially since coming back from Intentionality Summit, that I could share with all of you that might help you as much as some of the training we got last night helped me. So sort of in a pay it forward, I wanted to share with you how we organize and attack our friend requesting and messaging. Many of you know that Danielle and I work the business together. She takes care of client support, health assessments, coach training, coach explores, all of that good stuff. And I try to really focus on the growth side of our business. So I do all the social media and then our Facebook friend requesting and messaging. For those of you that went to Intentionality Summit, you know what I'm talking about when I say we came back from that thing on fire, and we operate normally at a pretty high level of on fire. So we're like El Fuego. I mean, mind's blown, crazy town. As part of that, we came back, got real serious about what our C-level goals are, which are just goals that they're so big, we don't know how we're gonna get there. We don't know exactly what it's gonna take to get there, but we know that's exactly what we want. We got real strong on what those were, and then decided to put in a massive action plan to get there. So for us, and I'm just gonna say it because if you don't say it, you know, how are you ever gonna get there if you can't even say the words? But we want to, within the next 6 months, either double at a minimum or most likely triple our business currently. In order to do that though, we're gonna have to do some massive work, and a huge piece of that is the social media, which I'm excited about because that's one piece that we really can control. So I thought it might be helpful because we get some excellent training from our mentorship teams on the 3-3-3. Everybody sitting on here at this point should have a pretty good idea of why the 3-3-3 is important, why the consistency is so vital to what we do, and how to execute, really, right? Now, we all scale it to the size of the business that we're looking to create. So maybe you're doing a 3-5-5, or maybe you're doing a 3-10-10, or 3-15-by-15, whatever it is, but the fundamentals are all the same. What we don't spend a ton of time talking about, though, is what happens when your 3-3-3 starts to work. And it will work because there's no way for it not to work, one. And two, because when you put that much intention behind something, you're gonna make it happen for yourself. So what happens though when it starts to really work is you find yourself then inundated with messages. I know for us, it hit around ED, where we were doing the consistency, we were doing what needed to be done, and then all of a sudden, it was this big snowball of messages coming in. And I remember getting into, we do the friend requesting in the morning, and then at night I do the messaging, getting into the messages at night and being like, holy crap, like how am I going to respond to all of these people? It would have been really easy then, I think, to kind of throw my hands up and say, well, that you just can't, nobody can do that. Not so, right? We're surrounded by people every day who not only are doing it, in many cases doing it by themselves and doing it better than we are. So I try to take all the excuses away from myself and from us. I work a full-time job too. We have kids, we have all of the things, and it's super easy to say, I just don't have the time. I can't possibly do it. And I'm here to tell you, you can do it. And if you want to do it, you will do it. And that's all it comes down to. When we started taking the excuses away, this guy really became the limit. So, in order to help though, those of you who maybe have been doing this for a while and still don't feel like your system is on point, or for those of you that are coming on and starting your businesses, following the system like we should be, and really seeing that massive growth already starting to happen, some ideas for how maybe you can manage it that will help you move faster than we did and hone your stuff so tight that you're really getting to where you want to be. A couple things we'll talk about. I want to go over how I set up our weekly schedule for friend requesting. I haven't always done this and have started to do it since we've started our freaking massive action, and it's been really critical in helping me meet the metrics and the goals that I want to meet weekly. We're going to talk about something that I learned on a boot camp not too long ago from Ray Lloyd, who is incredible, about posting in groups and how utilizing this technique has really taken us to the next level. And then the last piece is how I manage the messages, because we're at a point now, I think last night I had 80 messages, which if you had asked me a few months ago, like 80 messages, no, I can't possibly get through more than 20. But I got through 80 last night, and you can too. It's a matter of being really diligent about your time management and how you are utilizing the system. So I'm going to show you how I do it in hopes that it will help some of you manage it better for yourselves. Now, I'm super old school, so forgive me for my camera-ing here. My beautiful wife usually does the stuff, but I will see if I can't show you guys how my old school brain does this thing. Okay. So for tracking our friend requesting and messaging, which, you know, all of your maps, if you're using a map, there's a space on there to do it. If you're doing the 3, 3, and 3, if you're kind of looking for something a little more massive, there's a bunch of ways to do it. I try to keep things as simple as possible because, you know, we all don't have a ton of time. So the more simple, the better. So what this is just I print a clear calendar right out of Outlook if you're a Windows user or Microsoft user. And then I literally just have this binder by me in the mornings, and I make my little check marks. So you'll see for last week, every friend request I send gets that. Every message I send, same thing. And by the end of the week, I'm able to add up how many friend requests we got out and how many messages we got out. What I've started to do, though, that has been really effective is trying to be specific and intentional with each day. So many of you know that we're expanding internationally. And Danielle and I have this crazy dream or idea. Well, actually, no, it's not either of those. It's a C-level goal is what it is. And that goal is to become global ambassadors in each new international market Optavia goes into. So bam, it's out there. That's what we want to do. That's what we're striving for. So as you can see here, what I've started to do is be specific. So on Tuesdays, I'm focusing and friend requesting people in Hong Kong. On Thursdays, I'm focusing on and friend requesting people in Singapore. On Wednesdays, I go back through all of the before and afters that Danielle has posted as part of the first bit of our 3, 3, and 3, and I message every single person who has liked one of the before and afters. Please, please, please do this every week if you can, or more than once a week if you're getting a ton of interest in your before and afters. I cannot tell you how critical this has been. It's a simple thing, and everybody says, oh yeah, make sure you're going back through and you're doing your before and afters. No, please go back in there, send them a nice message that's literally, thank you so much for liking such and such post. It really means a lot to her. She was nervous about posting it. Thanks for your support, just meant a lot to me. That's it. How are you doing? That's it. And you will be surprised how many people respond and how many of those people were waiting for you to open the door. Most of our health assessments right now are coming from these before and after posts, and because we're now intentional about it, we're seeing that. Okay, so as you can see for the current week, sometimes you got to be a little bit flexible. This week got a little bit different. We had some more before and afters go up, so I needed to catch up on those. Focused on that on Sunday. Monday was a normal day, and by normal day I mean I went to the groups that I would normally go into, and those of course are the groups that are in your kind of circle of influence or things that you're associated with, whether it's what are we, RVing, or we're in a lot of LGBT groups, things like that are just part of our world. You'll see here though, I've left Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday open because I started to employ the new technique that Ray talked about in her training, and it's sort of blown the doors off for me. Friday, which these days obviously haven't happened yet, but because I employed the new technique, and then which I'm going to explain to you, I ended up having to kind of track those days over here because they didn't mesh up with the day I was actually doing it. So I still need to this week go back and do Hong Kong and my Singapore post, so I wanted to leave those open because I've got to do it in my before and afters, but I tracked the other days here. So I mean, it's flexible. Figure out however it makes sense to you, but just make sure you're intentional about the days so that you don't lose sight of maybe your greater goals. Okay, so now let me see if I can show you this stuff that Ray taught, which is incredible and is a game changer. Okay, let's increase this. Sorry again about my camera-ing here. Okay, so I was in here before doing this and getting through about 20 of the messages, but so in place of the Let's Talk calls, the last little while we've been doing the boot camps, right? I think it was either the first or the second one. Ray Lloyd got on there. I didn't actually catch it, but Danielle said, no, you got to go back and you've got to listen to this thing, and so I did. In that post, there's our life. Ray talked about how she posts in groups similar to how you post on your main page, and that by doing this, she's able to generate some more genuine and authentic conversation. And what I have found, which she didn't actually talk a lot about, was that it is a game changer on time saving. So what does that look like? I am going to show you. You have all your variety of groups, right? Whatever it is. You're going to go into a group, whatever you choose to go into, any one of them, and I will pick any of these depending on what my mood is. And instead of just, let's look at van life. Instead of scrolling through like I would normally do, reading the post and looking for something that I could comment on or give a recommendation for or start a conversation on, what I've started to do now is post something. And Ray gives different categories for the types of posts you can do, and I really recommend you go back, find the training and watch it. But basically you're going to either ask a question, you're going to ask for a recommendation, or you're going to post something funny, or there's one other category that's escaping me right now. But either way, you're posting something to hopefully elicit a response or elicit communication from people. So you're not going to be like, hey, I'm having a crap day, somebody say something positive. You're going to say something that elicits responses. As part of this, when you do this, what I generally do is I will post something in the morning, and then I will leave it until I get home later that day from work, and then I'll go back in and I will comment on everyone that's commented on my stuff so that I can bump the post. I realized early on that it was kind of hard to remember what group I had posted in, and then to go back and try to find that. So a little trick that will help you is if you go to your regular, just hit your Facebook symbol and go to your regular feed. If you go down here, there is a category called Saved. When you post, you can save that post, and it's going to put it in this folder for you, and it's going to make it really easy for you to access. So here are my saved posts for this morning. Here is one of them. Now, to save your post, when you create it, after you post it, you're going to click this down arrow, and this will say Save Post. You're just going to hit Save Post, and then you're going to be able to go over like I showed you and saved, and it'll be there. So you don't have to go searching back through the groups to try to find your post. So here, a good example of something you could do. Like I said, we're hoping to be global ambassadors, so I'm working really hard on these Singapore groups. So I asked the question, hey, we're going to be traveling to Singapore with our children, hopefully multiple times in the next year. My son has ADHD, he's a little rambunctious. We're from the US and wondering if there are any cultural differences related to how kids are viewed in Singapore that I should prepare them for ahead of time, which is a legitimate question for our family. And you'll see here, people started to respond. And then I came back in later in the day and I responded. Now, where this really becomes gold is, let me show you. Yesterday, the day before, let me see, active, new, I meant archived, sorry. Here we go. Yesterday, or the day before, I posted this one in this group called You Need a Budget. I don't know if any of you are You Need a Budget fans, but it's pretty amazing. Anyway, this group has like 30,000 people in it. We happen to use this app for our budgeting. And so I said, hey guys, loving the group. Quick question for you, those of you that travel frequently, and then I asked a budgeting question. Do you allocate a bucket just for travel, or do you break it out, individual expenses? And then, we've been having great success, but travel tends to throw us off. Any suggestions? Posted a picture to draw attention of my cute kiddos. And then this sucker went crazy. We got, like you can see there, 96 comments on it. Some of those, of course, are me going back through and replying to everyone to bump the feed and to keep getting replies. But that is a lot of interaction on one post. Here's where it becomes incredible. So as I said, normally I go into the groups in the morning. For those of you that know us, we get up at 5. That's when I do our friend requesting, for a couple hours before our kids get up. And it used to be I'd scroll through and find something, which I would be really hustling to get to be able to friend request and or message 15 people. Off of this one post alone, I came in here, I said, okay, bam, hovered over Lisa. Let me message her. Message. Hit that, and then you can see she's replied. But I just said, hey, thanks for your comment on my post. And then I asked a question, and here she is replying to me now, which is great. We're in conversation. Doing it this way, though, which I didn't know or expect, saves me so much time, you guys. On this day of doing my friend requesting that morning, from this one post alone, I got 33 messages out in the same amount of time that it was taking me to get 15. And then I actually had time left over on this morning to go into a couple other groups and post in those groups in preparation for the next day. So I'm going to utilize this now every week so that I'm saving myself time and making myself even more effective and able to message more people, which one of the great takeaways I got from intentionality, and there were so many, if you didn't get to go this year, please work your butts off this next year so you can go. It is incredible. But was that if your business is not as large as you want it to be, it is simply because not enough people are exposed to you. And this really resonated with me because it's the one thing we can do. We can do the hustle on social media. We can do the work to get ourselves out there, to put people in front of us or put ourselves in front of people to generate business. You know, we can't always control if somebody comes on program. We can't always control when somebody's ready for a health assessment, but we can control how many people we touch. And that's what I love about this side of doing the business. Okay, so I think that covers that. Just remember, start posting in those groups, guys. Don't overthink it, just like with the messages. Something simple, asking a question, get it out there. And then save it so that you're not having to waste time searching later. You just go right back into your saved, and then you're able to find that post. You can also create categories within your saved folder. I have an active and an archived. So when I've finished with a post like this one, I'm done with now. I've replied, I've messaged everybody, and this one's done to me. I moved that over into archived so that each day I just go in for the new ones, put them in my active category, and I'm all set to check them for later that evening. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now you're killing it with your 3x3x3, and the messages are starting to roll in. So now, how do you manage this beast? And this is a critical piece, guys, because it took us a while to figure this out. And up until then, I felt like I was drowning consistently. And I think this is also the piece where, especially a new ED or someone whose business is really starting to roll and you're on the cusp of the snowball, where you can want to maybe throw your hands up and say, I can't do this, it's too much. It's not too much. I promise you. It's just a matter of getting the system down so that you can attack it systematically and get the work done. You can do it. Many people have done it. And you are just as skilled in every way as anyone else, especially me, who is doing this. So if I can do it, I know you can do it. It's a matter of just getting organized and getting it done. Okay, so when I'm doing messages, I do them right in Facebook. I will do them on the phone or on an iPad if I have to, but there's one critical feature that are not on the phone or the iPad app that I have been able to find. If you have found it, for the love of God, please tell me. But this is the feature that saves my life and makes this possible. If you come up and can follow the arrow over here into the left-hand upper corner of the screen, and you click on the gear, and you filter your inbox, your messenger inbox, by unread threads, okay? You're gonna see at the top is usually coach threads. And this is because Danielle is responding to these coaching threads all day long, and those are the most active, those are the ones that have had the most recent communication. But when you filter it and you scroll down, it filters it for you by when these have come in. So it's a very easy way to keep track of how far back you are, or how behind maybe you are. I try to never let the messages go longer than 3 days. And the reason for that for us is because there is a lot. If I let it go more than a couple days, it takes a massive amount of effort to catch back up. And that's what you want to avoid. It's the consistency, not just in the posting and the messaging, but in responding, because that's where your health assessments will come from. So I mentioned at the beginning, I've been working on this for a while before we sat down, and have probably done 25 or 30 of our messages. As you can see though, these Tuesday messages all came in on Tuesday. So these are people that I messaged on Monday. They replied to me on Tuesday at some point. And you'll see we're working with quite a few here, right? And then where you see it switch here, these are messages that came in today. And that's where you start to see the time. So when I'm doing messages, I scroll to the very bottom, which gives me everything I haven't responded to, because as you know, if you don't filter, sometimes you don't go down far enough and you miss things. And the last thing we want to do is leave someone who needs health and who's looking for our help hanging, right? And more than that, you don't want to leave money on the table. This is your business, and the only way to grow is to make sure you've got a good system in place to track this stuff so you're not leaving anybody behind. Anyway, so I go down to the bottom. I will start with the last one. I'll click on it. I will respond. As soon as I hit enter, it's gone. That message then leaves here because you responded to it now, so it's no longer unread, and then I move on to the next one. Doing it like this very systematically is a real time saver, like genuinely. And I have confidence that I'm not missing anything because here they all are. Now, a critical piece to this is you're going to get to a point like where we are, and this happened honestly around ED, where you have so many messages, it's not really feasible to do them all and in the same night. So like I said, we friend request and message, outgoing messages in the morning, and then at night, once the kids go down, I spend a couple hours there answering our messages from the day before. But that's where I stop. So you'll see tonight, I will answer all of these messages for Tuesday, and I will stop here. Because in a lot of cases, I don't want people to get used to me responding to them right away. And there's a variety of reasons for that, but one of them is that it's very difficult to do so, right? So by kind of creating this 1 day buffer or 2 day buffer, they get used to that. In the course of our conversation, they know, hey, Crystal's not gonna, or Danielle is not gonna respond right away, but I'm sure I'm gonna hear from her the next day. And it's really helpful to me. What you want to avoid, and we know we run into them, is you'll message somebody and then they'll message you right back. And you're like, crap. And so you end up in this message conversation, but by doing so, you weren't able to address any of the other messages you have because you spent all your time on the one message. In some instances, I will respond, but that's generally, I wonder if it's, oh wow, it's snowing really hard outside, guys, sorry. That's only if that person is literally like, hey, I want to get on the phone. I want to get on the phone now. I need this. This is what I need for my life. So otherwise, even if they've asked about their health, or even if they've asked about health coaching, I'll still have the buffer day in between, because that's how we manage it, and I try to stick to the system. Let me see. Okay, now, for those of you who are doing this as a team, so I'm sitting here and I'm going through the messages and I'm responding, and then we have people asking for health assessments and such. And then how do I let Danielle know that we need to follow up with these people? What I will generally do is I will say, we'll get to the point where they're like, hey, I'd really like to learn more about it or whatever it is. And I'll say, wonderful. I'm so excited. Do you have time? Do you have 20 minutes or 20 to 30 minutes in the next 1 or 2 days, like we've all been trained to say, that we can chat? And then I will screenshot what you see right here so that I can see their name. We can see that, oh, yep, we're waiting on a response for what time tomorrow they can talk. I'll screenshot that, and then I'll move on. At the end of the night, when I'm done doing messages, I will text Danielle all of the screenshots. And then she knows the very first thing the next morning is that she is going to check those messages and see if they responded, see if they gave a time, and then she's going to get it on the schedule. If you don't do this, or you don't figure out a way that works for your team, it's very easy to get lost, because you're going to have so many messages, you won't be able to remember which ones you need to go back and look at because you're waiting on an answer for that day. So just a suggestion there. Okay, and then one last thing, I know I've run on for a long time. If you're still listening, one last tip, and then I'm going to let you all go, but I guess I can turn you around so that you can see me and not just be staring at the screen. Okay. Hopefully you can see me-ish. Okay, so the last thing that I want to throw out there, with the messages. And I learned this from Doug Wood very early on watching one of his trainings. When somebody does open the door about the health stuff, right? Whether they've asked straight up about it or whether they've said, you know, a lot of times people will say something about, it would be great to lose a few pounds or something along those lines. Very non-committal, because health is a very personal topic, right? So people don't often just come straight out with it. When that happens in the messages, I use what Doug called bracketing. Bracketing is where I will start our response message, and I will say something in relation to something else they talked about in their post. Like if they said they were from Illinois or something like that, I'll say, oh my God, we've never been to Illinois. I think we've traveled through. How long have you been there? Do you love living there? And then next, I'll address the health piece. You know, if they've said something like, oh, it would be great to lose a few pounds, but I can't ever give up junk food. I'll say, you know, sounds like you kind of got some health goals, you know, yada, yada, yada. Do you, something very non-committal, like a lot of my clients felt the same way before they started the program I coach, but it's, you know, it's been wonderful for them. But I don't really go right at them with it. The other piece is if they are like asking about our lifestyle, because that's what you're selling, right? You're selling your lifestyle on Facebook when you're posting stuff. So a lot of people will say, oh, I saw your adventure van. Oh, I wish we could own an adventure van. That would be so amazing. And I will, in that piece where after I've bracketed it with something else, I'll be like, you totally can own an adventure van. I never thought we'd be able to either, but we totally could, because we have this amazing health coaching business. It's changed our entire lives. It's incredible. Oh, and here she is now, done with her coach celebrating. So that's the middle piece, and then you're going to bracket the end of the message with something completely different. Right now, my completely different is, oh, we're so far behind for Christmas this year. I don't even know that we've gotten all the kids their gifts yet. Are you guys ready? The reason for this is because Optavia we operate above the line. I kind of always laugh with this concept of above the line, but the truth of the matter is we never want people to think that we are communicating with them solely because we're trying to promote our business. Because honestly, if that is what you're doing, you're not resonating with people. We are talking to people because we want to generate meaningful relationships, so that if these people someday decide they need better health or they legitimately need our help as health coaches, they know who to turn to. That's what we're doing. And if you approach these conversations with that in mind, people will always respond, because it's not about trying to get them on a program. It's developing a relationship so that if that need arises in their life, or maybe it's already present, they trust you and they know you care about them outside of whatever the business may be, and they're going to come to you. So think about the bracketing. I feel like it's a really non-aggressive way to show concern for people, that you're reading what they're writing before you dive into, going into maybe the opening they've presented you to talk about health. So keep that in mind. It's been really effective for us. And the last thing I'll say, I guess, is keep going. Like I told you when I first got on, we are on fire over here, and we've got a kid awake. And we're not going to stop. I don't know what we're going to look like in 6 months, but I have a feeling it's going to look pretty good. And it's all going to come down to exactly what we're talking about here. Doing the things that we have control over, not settling for anything less than our absolute best, and realizing that in some cases for the next 6 months, we're going to give up the good for the great. And that's going to be okay, because when we get to the great, we're going to be sitting next to the Eccles in Maui or wherever the hell, and we're going to be feeling pretty good. So thanks for listening. If you're still listening, I hope some bit of this somewhere in here helped you. And if you have any questions at all, super happy to answer them. Comment on wherever this gets posted, and we'll do our very best to answer them. But please, figure out what you really want, and then freaking go for it, because the sky's the limit, and that is the true gift that Optavia has given every single one of us. Somebody said it best the other day. It was actually on the boot camp that, who was it? Maybe it was Ray again, because apparently she's incredible. But it was, Optavia is either going to be the greatest gift you've ever been given, or it's going to be the biggest gift you've ever walked away from. Something along those lines. But the gist is, it's all sitting here for our taking, It's just a matter of getting intentional, doing the work, and not settling and not doubting yourself, because every single one of us can do this. So good luck. I hope this helped. Bye.